for being late, but I run Mevo cams. And if anyone is in the market for a camera to use with OBS or anything that requires connecting your computer, never, just don't even think about a Mevo. The Mevo cameras, yeah, there's a four-letter word starts with an S. That's what I say they are. Once they wig out, you have to wait for the battery to completely die on them. They will not shut off. So when you can't turn them off, you can't reconfigure them. So my camera over here, my main camera, it wigged out right before the show. It was always finicky. If you just barely touch it, it'll freeze. And when it freezes, it's done. I tried to adjust the camera angle, froze the camera, so I will have to wait for the battery to die in it before I can attempt to reuse it. I did restart the computer 3 times trying to get it to reconnect, and it just will not reconnect. So we're down to one camera tonight. That's this camera right here, and it's probably not the best scenario, but I wanted to go over bridges tonight. And we have 2 different bridges. We have a clone bridge right here. And I'm going to hold the bridge close to the camera. And you can tell how the black is made there. And this is the top. This particular bridge come off a Firefly guitar. So if you have a Firefly with the Firefly bridge or even the Floyd Rose bridge, and I'll show you the Floyd Rose version. Here is the Firefly Floyd Rose version, or the Steve Brown Sound. There's a lot of companies using this particular Floyd Rose bridge. So in this video, we're going to teach you how to fix this piece of junk Floyd Rose bridge that says Floyd Rose, and this piece of junk clone Floyd Rose bridge. Show you how to fix them. If you have a Floyd Rose Special, that's what this bridge is. See where it says Floyd Rose Special right on the top? And notice the difference in the block. And notice some Floyd Roses have this large nut with this receiver block. Some Floyd Roses have this cup with the nut and the nylon washer. So it really depends. This should be a 12 millimeter, and this should be a 3 millimeter Allen on this one. If you look at the Floyd Rose True, the Special, you'll notice the blocks are a little better. And Schecter requires Floyd Rose to put an upgraded rear screw set on all their bridges. Only Schecter requires that. It might be a Schecter spec. You'll see it on all Schecters. This is a much better screw than even the black Floyd Rose Special screw. What ends up happening when you take your wrench, you put your wrench in your screw. Let's say I'm going to put my finger behind this, that way the nut doesn't come out. When you turn that, see how that one's staying straight as I turn it? Look at yours on your bridge. When you put your wrench in, if you see that screw doing this on the end, it means it's warped. And the cheaper bridges are bad for this screw warping. The problem with that is if the screw warps this direction or is warped that direction, when you make an adjustment here, that warp, okay, this screw has to hit the top tangent of that screw. If not, it works off base of that screw. and it causes inconsistency in the tremolo. Because when I push this screw down, notice the spring, when I push that down, see how the spring goes up? But also look at the saddle right here when I push that up. So by pushing this up, that's the same effect as you turning this fine tuner in. That's how it's changing the tune. See how the saddle's moving? So if this screw is warped and it's setting like this and you're moving that bridge back and forth, the tension here changes and this fine tuner can move on that tangent of the screw. That can cause issues as well. So tonight, excuse me guys, I'm going to get a drink. Tonight we're working on two different bridges. Whew, my hands are full of soap. Had to use my drink, no, my shirt. And I really should have this company sponsor the videos. I drink too many of these. So tonight we're working on two different guitars. This bridge here, like I said, come out of a Firefly. This particular guitar is going to go to Devastator, which I'm sure is in the chat. So we're going to fix this bridge, but we're doing it on a budget. So we're going to work on this bridge first. So if you have a Firefly and you notice that it's not holding tune, well, if it is holding tune, it's not going to hold tune for long. This is a brand new bridge by them. And I don't know if this camera is going to show it because I'm down to one camera. But this is the knife edge right here. And this guitar is brand new. It may have 3 hours of playtime on it, and that's just when I demoed the guitar. If I can get in really close, you can see there's a flat spot on both knife edges. This bridge is brand new. So, for that flat spot to be there, one or two things happened. Okay? We're going to get a brand new set of posts out of the package. Now these are upgraded Floyd Rose posts. So I'm just going to take them out to illustrate something. We're going to be using these posts. And you can tell these are original Floyd Rose parts. Not the cheap Floyd Rose parts, the good Floyd Rose parts. So if you look here, there's an angle on this screw. That knife edge has to set right in that angle piece. That's where it needs to set. Okay? So this part sets right in there. Here's where people mess up their bridges. Okay? I'm going to try to hold this with one hand. It's mounted to their guitar. Where's my other wrench? There it is. It's mounted in their guitar. There's strings on it. Oh, I want to lower my action. They put their tool in there, and guess what they do? They run that screw down while this bridge is engaged to this with string pressure on it. So what you're essentially doing is this piece here is turning on your beautiful knife edge. And as that thing turns, it just cuts into this knife edge. It destroys the knife edge. I don't care if you have a German-made Floyd Rose, it might handle it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times you do that. But you're killing your knife edge. If this is engaged in that tremolo, okay, and you have string pressure on this bridge, never, ever, 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 even if you're in a pinch, play that guitar with whatever's going on with it. Do not put your tool in this adjustment screw and move this screw with string pressure on this bridge. I am going to bet $1,000 that this guitar had string pressure on it at the factory. They put their tool in there and they just... And the stock ones aren't near as smooth as these German-made ones that I buy. It acted like sandpaper and cut into it. Or, another thing that can happen, you don't have any strings on your guitar, and I see a lot of people with Floyd Rose do this. Here's your tremolo, you got all your strings on it, and you start cutting the strings. First the E, then the A, the next string. You get down, each time you do it, the tremolo does this, because you're eliminating string pressure. And eventually, that bridge sits down in the guitar like that. And the edge, okay, this knife edge, cuts up into this part of the seat. And it slips and it works up into that groove. Okay? Now the tremolo is sitting like this. It's maxed out. This is in the back of the body. Some guitars are worse than others. But the ones that are routed out, the body's routed out, and this tremolo can go way back, those are the bad ones. It's not bad design, it's bad when you cut all the strings off. Because this tremolo goes back like that, and that knife edge goes up too far into this point and damages your knife edge. You got a Floyd Rose. Everyone talks about chasing the tune on a Floyd Rose. Take your E string, cut your E string off. Put your tool in your back, unlock it, pull your string here, replace that string. Unlock your A and E locking nut at the top, replace the string. Bring it up to tune. Bring your E up to tune. Go to your A string, which is your old string. Cut it. The tremolo is just going to barely move. Put your tool in your back. Loosen your nut. Put your new string in. Fish it up. Wind it. Bring your A string up to tune. Okay? Now what do you got now? You've got a bridge that still has pressure on it. Go to your next string. Cut your next string off. Loosen the nut. Pull the old string out. Put your new string in. Repeat that all the way across the bridge. And as you do that, the bridge is only going to move just a little bit. Okay? And guess what else you're not going to fight? You're not going to be fighting the tune of that bridge. Because you've brought each string up individually, you're not going to be chasing it. You might go through the tuning 3 times. Okay? Now, depending on the string tree of the guitar, let me show you another trick. Your string tree. Okay? Right here. This little guy right here. That's your string tree. When you tighten this nut, okay, I'm going to be playing the guitar. I'm going to hit the E string. I'm going to look at my tuner. I'm going to take my tool. I'm going to tighten the nut. If that E string goes up in tune, you need to lower your string tree because this angle isn't steep enough, and it's when you lock this locking nut, it's pushing down on that string. You also hear people say, "Oh, I stripped my locking nut." Well, either you just gorilla tightened it, or your string tree is not down far enough and you're pushing this nut down and there's string pressure there. And that nut has to pull that string down to the seat of the nut. Again, E string, look at your tuner, put your tool in, tighten it. If it goes up in tune, lower your string tree. Of course, if it goes down in tune, which it's not going to, you're pretty good. So you can move this up until it starts to pitch up a little bit, and then give it a quarter, eighth turn back down. Now this is fixed, so the only thing you can do is check your high E and your low E, and you hope your center strings, your A, your B, your G, your D, is going to follow suit, because you do not have individual string trees on each string behind the nut. So you have to do that as well with your Floyd Rose. Everyone goes, well, I got a locking nut. Why do I need a string tree? That's why your string tree is there. People go, oh, whenever I tune it, I lock it, it goes out of tune. Well, if you don't have a string tree, you need to add one. And make sure that these screws, if you're adding a string tree, are not going to be in the way of your strings up here. A lot of times, they're kind of finicky to fit in there if the guitar isn't designed to have a string tree. So pay attention where these screws come through, so the string is not rotting on that screw if you're adding one. Okay. Is there any questions that I need to answer, honey, before I move on to disassembling tremolos? Nothing? Okay. I don't know how many people we have in here. I think my sugars are a little high tonight, guys. I've been drinking a lot. So, whenever you're doing a tremolo repair and you replace your base plate, another tip, if you're replacing this base plate, make sure you match with the right posts. This material and your base plate material need to be of the same metallurgy, the exact same makeup. Okay, exact same material. Whether you're using stainless, hardened steel, you don't want this to be harder than this or this to be harder than that. They need to be congruent in the hardness. Okay, now set this over here. So, what are we doing? We're going to do this one first. So what I have here to fix this bridge this is an FR1000 bridge plate. Let's open it up. And it's shiny. Set that down there. So when you order a new bridge plate, it's going to come with the fine tuners already on it, and it's going to come with these screws. If you're doing it and you're thinking, well, I'm going to order this bridge plate and I'm also going to order the upgraded tuning keys. Well, I got news for you. The lovely people at Floyd Rose has thought about you, and I've turned that screw to where you can see it. If you look on the very bottoms of all these screws, they have actually deliberately damaged the thread on every one of these screws. Now you're probably thinking, well, why would they do that? Well, it's a very cheap, inexpensive way of making sure you don't unthread them. It acts as a stop, see? They won't unthread anymore. So they claim, oh, well, that's all that can go. Okay, I believe that. Makes sense. What it does, though, if you go to remove this screw, it is going to damage the threads in this plate. Yes, you can do it. But do not use a tap and die set to fix this. There is a difference. You need to get a chase. You just look for that thread pitch. I can't remember what thread pitch it is, but you need to get a chase, not a tap and a die. And you need to chase these holes again to clean up those threads. I do have the correct chase downstairs to do it. And you're going to need vice grips to get these out, because they put a really nice little ding in them. In this case, we are not taking these out because we want to fix this bridge on a budget. Okay, it's a budget guitar. That's what Firefly is. And when we're done with this, this is going to be a very stable bridge. So this is the first piece we're going to use. Right now we just need to disassemble this bridge because we need to reuse the saddles in this bridge. There's nothing wrong with these saddles. They will last you for many years. So each saddle has one nut right here. We're going to take the first one out, and we're going to check and see if Firefly did install any shims whatsoever in this bridge.
Fox wants to know if it's harder to set up a licensed Floyd than the authentic article.
Vox, it really doesn't make a difference because they all use the exact same mechanical system, if that makes sense. This screw here, if you look in the base plate where this saddle is, see how it lifts up? Okay. If you look at the base plate, there's 3 holes. So that allows you to move this saddle back and forth. Okay. That's what it's allowing you to do. That's all the way back. And if you look, this plate, the generic plate, only has 2 holes. So that third hole is maxed all the way back. Second hole, first hole, all the way forward. And I can already tell you, if you look at how this saddle's made on the very back, it's got a little chamfer here. That chamfer is because sometimes when you go back to the very last hole, this chamfer, when you tune down, notice the back of that saddle goes down. That chamfer allows it not to hit the back side of the saddle. The Floyd Rose bridge, I'm not discouraging anyone that has a Floyd Rose. I have a lot of guitars with Floyd Roses. It's actually a really poo design.
He wants to know, are the pins steel pins or roll pins going through the saddles?
It really depends on the manufacturer. Both of these have steel pins from the factory. It's a hardened steel pin. Some companies will use brass. Some companies are going to use stainless, depending on the saddle set. You want to watch. Some materials like aluminum do not like touching other materials, and it creates a there's a technical term for it. If you take copper and aluminum and they touch, they start to corrode. They react to one another, the two different materials. It's not really it's not rust. They just don't like one another. So you got to pay attention. Certain metals don't like to touch other metals. That's why if they're using steel here with a plating, usually that pin is going to be steel too. The problem is the tolerance in the pin to the saddle. A lot of your cheaper ones, like let me pull this one out real quick, and I'll show you. Just take this screw out of the back of the saddle. So this screw goes right into the back of the saddle, and that captures the block that's in here. Okay, that block is what holds the screw. So the pin he's talking about is right here. Okay, so you can check the tolerance of the saddle by how much it moves this way. Okay, and how much jiggle there is in the saddle. This saddle here, it has a little play in it. See? It's not any worse than a Floyd Rose Special saddle. It really isn't. This isn't made by Floyd Rose. And checking the bottom of the saddle, it has a mark right here, just a mark. That could be a 1. There's one there, and there's one here. So what that means is, if you lay this flat on something, we're going to use this plate, okay? If I lay this saddle flat, notice the back of this saddle is not touching. And if I get it perpendicular, see that distance? That it's off the plate? That's a height measurement. So when you pull these, they'll say 1, 2, 3. If you see that in my opinion, it's a substandard saddle because they're not actually telling you the distance here. How much is the offset from the base of this main part of the saddle that attaches to here? You need to have a reference, a number, whether it's 0.5, 0.2, whatever it is. That way, when you put the strings on it, okay, and you want to create an arc here, and you want to put your shims on, your shims are going to be like 0.03, 0.04, 0.05, whatever they are. If you're off and you pull that saddle, then you know how much of a shim to put on it because you can gauge it from the string. Okay, you're not just guessing. Floyd Rose, I do not think their stock saddles actually show you what that is. And I was grabbing the wrong tool. But a higher grade saddle will read on the back what that offset is. It'll be laser etched or machine etched into the saddle, its height. That's how you can usually tell a higher quality saddle. You can also check the end play. Notice I'm keeping my finger over top of that block. That way I don't lose that block until I get the screw in here to capture that block. Once I get it captured, now I'm going to flip it over and see if I see a 2. Yep, there is a 2 on that saddle. So they are at least numbered. Okay. Now, if you've got a 12-inch radius, a 14-inch radius, a 15-inch radius, a 16-inch radius, you can already see that the Floyd Rose is not set up for all these different radiuses. They're not. So you have to look. Put all your screws in, put a radius gauge on the back side, and when I say that, let me grab a radius gauge. Oh, there should be some over here. This is why I use these. This is a top and bottom radius gauge. Okay? I want the strings to set up here. So when this bridge is in the guitar, okay, and the strings are coming out of it, I'm going to take this gauge, I'm going to put it down through the strings, and I'm going to lift it up. And the strings are going to ride on the top of this gauge. Looking at how the strings hit the gauge, if they're hitting here and they're not touching out here, I know that I need to put shims on these here. The tricky part comes where if I put a shim here and a shim here, I may not have a shim that'll work here. Okay? So I may have to take my number 3 saddles. Okay? 3 saddles should be in the center. Put my 3 saddle here. Then take my 2 saddle and put it here and put a shim. So my 1 saddle with a shim, the 3 without a shim, and the 2 with a shim to get the right radius. I cannot tell you what to do because every one of these saddles is going to be made a little different. Okay, this is not Floyd Rose. So their 2 may not be like a Floyd Rose 2. But if you're always doing Floyd Rose specials, there should be very consistent product because it's a cast product. So as long as it's a true Floyd Rose saddle, once you get those numbers memorized, you should know, oh, this is a Floyd Rose special. It's a 12-inch radius. I know that I can just bolt them down and not really shim it. Oh, this is a 14-inch radius or a 15-inch. Let's say you got a 16-inch radius. I know that I've got to put a shim under the 1, and I put that under the low E and high E. And I'm going to take the number 3 saddle, which is the tallest saddle I have. I'm going to put that under the A and the B string without a shim. Then my D and G string are going to get the number 2 saddle, most likely with a shim. Now, there are 3 different shim sizes, so you just got to kind of play with it. The drawback to the shim, where's my shims? I do have shims. Anyway, the shim, I don't know where they're at. The shim is a rectangle and it has a hole in it. And that hole in the shim, the screw needs to go through that hole to capture the shim so it doesn't fall out. Do not buy shims that are just cut with like a U and they go, oh, well, once you put the screw on it, it's fine. I did bring them up so you could see them. I just don't know what I did with them. Oh, here they are. So I don't know how well that's going to show in the camera. But if you see, some of these shims, they have a hole at the top of the shim. There's a good view. And they're rectangles. So that hole, this screw that holds this shim to the base plate, this screw has got to go through that hole in that shim to capture this shim. The next thing is, if you notice, they're rectangles. That rectangle has to set straight on this bridge. It can't set crossways because it needs to set only under the saddle. If not, and you've got it set in crossways, this saddle here will hit the shim that you put here. So it has to set straight and follow that saddle. So it's only under the saddle you're trying to shim, if that makes sense. Making sure I get these right. They're numbered, so it really doesn't matter. All right, let's continue to take it apart. Hopefully that long-winded thing answered the. I don't even remember what the question was, but I'm sure I eventually did answer it.
I think the only question was whether or not they were steel pins.
All right, now the next thing, remember, don't lose your locking block. Put this in there. Lock it down. Okay? We're just going to go, oh, we want to check that and see if it has a 3 on it. Yes, it does have a 3. And I'm pretty sure that's not going to show in the camera. But there is a 3 in that little circle. We are not going to put shims in any of these tonight. Okay? Because that is something that you're going to do during the setup process of your guitar. There will be a video on that, guys. And if you go back on the channel, I have a couple videos on how to hot rod Floyd Rose bridges. Pretty detailed videos. But it seems like everyone likes a new video. So I figured I would do this one live. I got to do the work anyway. So that way you can see I'm not hiding anything. You can, I kind of like watching people do the work directly. It's not like this old house where the guy walks in the room and it's just framed, and then they walk back in the room and the drywall's done and the painting's done and say, wow, that was fast. When you're doing the work on the guitar, it's not fast. Especially if you don't do it for a living. You're never going to be as fast as someone that does that job every day. Okay? It's not that you're not as good as that person. They do it every day. And it's just muscle memory, and just they can do it without even thinking because they've done so much of it. So don't think because you're a little slower and this person, oh, he built a bridge in 30 minutes and had it in tune, and well, maybe he's done 1,000 of them. Okay, if you haven't done 1,000, you've got these holes here. You've got 3 different holes. Well, if you don't know much, you're kind of like, well, which one should I go with? Well, I already know that this E is going to be set behind here. It's going to be set back, and they're going to do this number. That's what most guitars do. Do I know about where it's going to be? Yeah. I mean, I know it's going to set behind the A. So I'll probably just set them all in the center screw for right now, till I get a better, understanding of the guitar that it's going in. So once you've removed the saddles, now you have access to the 3 screws right here that hold your block. So everyone talks about upgrading your block for better sustain. Okay? Well, here's your block. So to get to your block, you have to tear the bridge down to this point to get to these 3 screws that are capturing the block. Now on this cheap bridge, you can see how small the screws are. Okay? Versus, well, I don't have, you can see how big the actual Floyd Rose spots are. The screws are much larger on a true Floyd Rose. So we're going to try to get these guys out. Shouldn't be too hard because they usually don't Loctite them. Yeah. They were pretty snug. And we're never, ever, 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 ever going to use this block and these screws again, because this block and this plate is junk. Don't even put this on your kindergarten kid's guitar. It's not good enough to put on a scrap guitar. It's just not. You can't build a $200 guitar, put a Floyd Rose bridge on it, and expect it to be decent. Okay, if you notice what they've done, this is our spring plate, and this was directly behind our spring plate. And you're like, well, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with it. I've built some guitars like that. But if you look at how the true Floyd is made, they have put a spacer plate right here. People are like, well, spacer plate? Well, it does more than space it. It applies pressure to this spring all the way out to the edge of the solid piece of metal. So this spring cannot deflect back up to here, because this larger piece of metal goes all the way out to the spring plate, to the edge of this part of the bridge. Can you see that? So that prevents this thinner spring plate from warping back here. So this is the bridge that did not have it, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. See how the bridge spring is? Well, I'm going to flip it this way so you get a better view. See how thin that little spring is? Okay? So when it's not supported and this block's way back here, see how much of that spring is in there that can deflect? It's just a missing part. Now look at this versus a true Floyd Rose spring. This is the German spring. And look at the difference. See how much thinner the cheap one is? Then look at the piece up here. This one has little rounded spots to capture that screw. The cheapie does not. There's a big difference. This one is almost twice as wide as this one when I put them side by side. Cheapie, good one. Does this work? I guess it does. I wouldn't use it. So, why'd we take that apart? Just to kind of show you. So we do need this piece. So I'm going to set the junk parts over here. On this guitar, this is what captures the tremolo arm. We are reusing this part. That should be a 3mm. And it is. And if you have to, you can put the bar in it and tighten it. But usually if you lean on it pretty good, you can pop it. Actually, there was very little pressure on that. So this captures this piece, okay? So it goes in like that, and then it threads in, and then it sandwiches the bridge plate between these two spots. And here's our junk spring plate. So this is file 13. Now we need to go through and start assembling our good bridge. Now here's the advantage here. Here's our trash bridge from a Schecter. Okay? Is this whole bridge trash? Not really. There's some parts on this bridge. Okay? We can use, even though this is the super cheapy block, we can use this block. Okay? We can use this block. So we're going to take this bridge apart and we're going to use the block on this bridge on our cheapy bridge. Now, if you don't want to do that, the best bang for your buck, Music Lily makes a block without the L right here. It's just going to be a 32-inch solid brass big block. I think they're like $10. Okay? The one with the L like this, I think is like $16. It's substantial. It's a substantial block. It's a nice block. It's the nicest block you can buy for $16. I think, what is this one? This is the 37, so this one's a little more money. But all you need if you're building a basic bridge, you do a 32 or a 34 millimeter standard square block. It'll just be a rectangle like that. Use it. It's going to be a lot more sustained than even this standard Floyd Rose 34. Because look at the difference in the thickness. This one's almost twice as wide. So you're gonna add mass. So this is what we're going to be using on the new bridge here. So
Did you mean 32?
I actually need to turn the front. You guys should have said something. I got the furnace blower going. And before everyone starts throwing popcorn at the screen, I know I said furnace. My AC unit, my A coil, is tied into my furnace. So my furnace blower has to turn on to circulate the AC in the house. So I just say furnace. It's just one of those things.
Kurt said that you meant 32 millimeter.
Yeah, 32 millimeter, sorry. It's a 32, 34. Now you can, depending on your guitar, they go up to 42 millimeter. If you're using it on like a Les Paul with an archtop body and the guitar has a lot of negative rake in the neck, you might be able to use a 42 millimeter block. Very rarely have I been able to install a 42 millimeter block in a guitar and not shave it a little bit. They don't make a 41 or a 42. So I think the next size would be 37. Some people might make a 38. So I have ordered 42 millimeter angle blocks and then cut them down. I'll cut them down to 39.5 or 40, and I'll maximize the amount of block that I can use on that guitar. The next thing you need to consider when you're thinking block height, when you lower your action height in your guitar, that lowers this is the bottom of the guitar, that lowers the block in the guitar. So you need to look and measure your guitar before you take it apart. Okay? Pull the cover off the back of the guitar, put a straight edge across the guitar, and measure from that base plate to the top of that block. And give yourself 3 or 4 millimeters of clearance because that spring has to hook on the top of it. When you take it back apart, measure your block then you can know how big the block needs to be.
Jupe says, Avery, you have a furnace with an A coil on top of it, the A coil for AC.
What is this?
Jupe says you
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm reading it. Yeah, I have a furnace. Basically, it's an oil-fired furnace tube, and then I have an A coil that sets above my blower. So the furnace is a pull-through. Okay, so the furnace box is here, the blower's here, and then my A coil sits on top. So it's a blow-through on the air conditioning, and it's a blow through, and then a siphon on the furnace side. So I always say furnace blower. People go, you're running your heat at summertime. So it's just my little squirrel brain. Okay. So since we know, well, actually, we're not using anything on this bridge. So we're going to take this bridge apart, and we're going to steal some parts off this bridge.
Do you have a condenser outside?
Yes, I have a AC condenser outside. Yep, AC condenser outside. So here, all I'm doing is the exact same thing, guys. I'm taking the screws out of the saddles. But this time, I'm just going to take them all out. And I'm going to double check and see if there were any shims on any of these saddles. You'd be surprised how many guitars come with 12, 14, 15-inch radius. And then when you go to service the tremolo, there's no shims under it. So you may have had a 12-inch or a 14 or a 16-inch radius neck, but your string radius was whatever the factory Floyd Rose radius was on your saddles. A lot of people go, oh, I got more space. How come when I touch the string down on the fingerboard on the D and the G, I got more space, but there's more travel? Well, that means the radius of the bridge on how it's shimmed is incorrect to the radius of the actual neck on the guitar. I see that quite a bit. Again, guys, it comes down to hand time. What costs money? It costs money for someone to sit there and do hand work on your guitar. Okay? Because they have to physically check the radius. Okay? And do all that handwork. So I'm flipping this saddle over, and there is a 1 on this saddle as well. But we don't know who, well, we know this is a Floyd Rose special, so it is a Floyd Rose. And this bridge here has a stripped saddle, just so everyone knows. This screw is very hard, but the saddle material is not very hard. So what has ended up happening, I think it's this one here. Yeah. So if you really tighten this, it just turns. So it has a stripped saddle on it. And from what I understand, he was saying it wasn't returning to 0 correctly. So that means the knife edges are actually a little worn. Floyd Rose specials, I mean, I'm not a big fan of them. You can get some that work pretty well. The problem with it is the metal that they're using on the base plate and the bridge posts is on the softer side. It's not like the 1000, and it's not like the German, and it's definitely not as good as the Godo hardness on their saddles. So does it work? Sure. But after a year or two of playing it, you're going to notice the guitar doesn't hold tune as well and doesn't return to 0 as well. Those knife edges will get worn. I do have a video on how to clean your knife edges, and keep in mind when you do that, you can get those knife edges back up to factory snuff again. The problem is, again, it's soft metal, so it's not going to hold. It's not going to last. I have a Kaler 2700 killer that I played for 20 some years out. I've never replaced the knife edges. I've never cleaned the knife edges. So a good hard material on the post and the knife edges equals longevity. The problem is the older Floyd Roses from Germany, awesome, very hard material, good material. The problem with the specials and some of the new stuff, it's just cheap metal.
Just out of my own curiosity, whose are you doing?
What's that, hon?
Just out of my own curiosity, whose are you doing?
Linnell wants to know whose I'm doing. I'm building 2 bridges tonight, guys. We are building Jupe's bridge. Now, Jupe's got a bunch of fancy parts. So you have to stick around and find out what fancy parts we're using on Jupe's bridge. The bridge I'm building first here is a budget bridge. And that's for the people out there that have the Steve Brown sound guitar. And if you watch the reviews, it's exactly why this channel was started. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread and butter. I guess it is until that bridge wears out very quickly. Or you got lucky and that bridge did actually hold tune. Those guitars come with the cheaper than the special Floyd Rose. And it's very soft metal. So even if you bought a Steve Brown Sound or a Firefly or some of these other guitars, I don't think Leo James has ever done a true Floyd. But there's some other companies out there that are doing that cheap Floyd. Cheaper than the Floyd Rose Special. It's just a matter of time before you have a problem with it. Those are the ones that this is the mod that you need to do. So this is a 12 millimeter if you have a Floyd that uses the nut. This is 12 millimeter. Just take it, and that was actually pretty tight. I don't know why I'm taking this off, because we really don't need to. So, because we're not going to reuse this base plate. So I'm just going to thread that back down. The only thing we needed off of this was this block. Alright, this is the only part on this bridge that I am reusing on Jupe's bridge. Just this part right here. So I want to take that part, and I'm going to put it over with Jupe's parts. That's the only part we're using. Now if you look, this is the plate that come off the special. Okay? Here's our German plate, the brand new one. If you set these side by side, they look identical. Okay? The only difference is the German one is a little stiffer. The thickness of the German versus the special is just a little thicker. But they're identical in the stamping. There's very little difference, just a little thicker. So we're going to keep that one. And the thick one we're putting over here. Another advantage to working on guitars, not all parts are bad. Save your parts. If you're working on guitars, pots, little tiny things, even cheap saddles, save the saddles. You might have someone come in, or you're replacing the strings in your guitar one day. This falls out and you don't realize that the block falls out. Oh, shoot. Well, go to your stash. All these blocks are very consistent in size. Keep that stuff. You never know when you might just need a block, if that makes sense. All right. So we know we're not using this cheap block. That's what come on the cheap tremolo. Okay. Throwing that down there. So now let's build a bridge for this Firefly. This is a Floyd Rose 1000 bridge. It's a decent bridge. So we're going to take our 34 Floyd Rose block and this guy right here. First thing that goes on is the base plate. Okay. Now we're going to take our block, and something I like to do. Now this is not a new part, but it should still be cleaned. This is alcohol. we're going to clean the part down. And something I like doing is I'm going to take that alcohol and I'm going to put it down in the hole. I'm going to clean out the holes. Get it clean. Get any funk that's on it off of it. Alright, there's our clean block. I want to do the exact same thing with the bottom of our bridge with the alcohol.
Can you see Mikey's color? I think what kind of spring plate he said.
Mikey's comment.
It's like Baser spring plate?
I don't know what kind of spring plate that means. The spring plate we're using is on this bridge a Floyd Rose Special that we just stole off the other bridge. We're not going to use the very, very cheap one that we just had. This is the super cheap one that Firefly is using. And we're robbing this part off a bridge that was going in the trash can. Because we're building a budget bridge. So you can see the massive difference in them. Now this piece, do yourself a favor, guys. Even if you break one, don't use this. If you got one of these, just put it in this part is not worth saving. But if you're building bridges for people, and I would have swore I would have had one of these downstairs, and I looked through my cabinet and I couldn't find an extra one. And then I remembered Jeep's bridge was getting the upgraded German one. So I'm like, well, we'll steal the one out of that one since he's getting the upgraded part, and we'll use on the other bridge. That's called using your head, guys. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel. A good part's a good part. And this part on the Floyd Rose Special, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with this spring plate. Even though it's a little thinner, it's good enough. Okay, this is the important part. All right, now we got that clean. I've dusted that off a little bit. And the next thing I want to do, I want to clean the screws. And now you're going, well, why is he cleaning the screws? I want to make sure there's no cutting oil or anything like this. Is a used screw, so we don't have to worry too much about it. But I'm threading it through the, and you can see there's no grunge coming off of it, but I still want to clean them. And I'm just running it through the alcohol. This is very important if you have new hardware, because when this is in the machine and they're cutting it, they're using cutting oil to cut those threads on those parts. You need to get all that cutting oil off the threads, off your parts. You want to get them nice, clean, and dry. That one actually did still have cutting oil on it from the factory. I'm going to clean that one more time. And I'm just taking the screwdriver and I'm screwing it just like you would, you're screwing into something, but I'm laying it in the alcohol rag. So now that I have it clean, the next thing I want to show you, if I can find it, and it fell on the floor. This is blue Loctite, okay? Oh, Mikey, thank you. So this is blue Loctite, and I get it. We're not mechanics, okay? But any metal on metal connection, blue Loctite is your friend. It's your friend. If you clean your parts and you use a little bit of blue Loctite, you don't have to worry about that thing coming apart. Now I know what other people are throwing popcorn right now. Oh, you put Loctite on it, you'll never get it apart. The blue Loctite you can, okay? If you put it together and you're finding you're having problems taking it apart, all you have to do is take your heating iron, okay? Let's say I put blue Loctite on this. I put the heating iron on the top of this screw. When that screw gets warm, it'll pop right out. But with blue, you really shouldn't have to do that. It's not that strong. If you use red, I can guarantee you're going to have to heat that screw to get it out. But we're not doing that. We're using the blue. So make sure when you put your spring on that this is facing down. It needs to follow your bridge. Okay? We need to line it up with the holes. And this part goes to the back. I don't think it makes a difference. The problem is now you have to align all that. So I'm going to set the parts right here. I've got my little screw. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of blue Loctite on that. Okay? I'm going to take my fingers and I'm just going to work it just like that. It doesn't take much. Okay? I'll set that right there. Realign my parts. You have to align everything up with the hole. And don't force it. It should thread right in. I am not going to tighten that screw. Do not tighten the screw. Get everything in the hole and started. Little blue Loctite. Cross my finger. Put your next screw in. Bring it down to where it's just barely snug, but I can still move the block. Third screw. Working in the thread. And it should just drop right in and thread. It should just thread that easy. See how easy that's threading? If it's not threading that easy, there's another problem. So now I'm just going to give it a little bit of a turn on each one. So what I'm doing now is I'm self-aligning it to this chamfer that they put in the base plate. Okay? That's what we have. Now that it's secured, I can lean on it a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. That's what the Loctite's for. But I am leaning on it. Since that is a chamfered hole with a bugle screw, go back through and double check. If you tighten once, when you come back to this one, it will turn just a little bit. So there's our first point. There's our spring adjuster on. Now, if you're doing a L block, okay, you have to put this on first because you cannot get the tool in here to tighten this piece if you're using an L block. But with a standard straight block, you can. So now we want to take this apart and we want to clean this. Again, we want to make sure there's no cutting oil in the part. This is something that gets loose on a lot of fluid roses because we tighten our tremolo bar down to this. Okay? You can see it's pretty grungy. I'm going to work it down in there. Now here's the tricky part. I'm going to take the screw and get the right wrench. I'm going to take the screw and I'm going to come over here over top of my piece. I'm going to put a little alcohol on my screw. I'm going to thread that in with the alcohol on the screw. I want to work that back and forth with the alcohol in the screw. Now I'm going to clean the screw. And all that black is cutting oil. So this screw was never cleaned, which doesn't surprise me because this was a Firefly part. That just means they're slapped together. They're not cleaning. Look, that's twice. It's still crud coming off the screw. That's acceptable. So it took 3 times to get that cutting oil off the thread pitch of that screw. What's that mean? When you go to tighten the tremolo bar down, and this is tight to this, well, this screw through here isn't tight and there's cutting oil on it, then this whole housing starts moving in the base plate. Doing what I'm showing you now, you don't have to worry about that. So we're going to take our housing piece, we're going to fit it in our base plate. Then this piece goes over top of that. Oh, it goes the other way. Yeah. So get your thread out. And you'll see that there's a ring on that. See the ring? So it can't fall through. So it's captured on this side. This piece captures it on the other side. Okay? So now what I want to do is I want to take my little tool. I'm going to get some thread locker down in the hole. Now I'm going to take my screw, 3mm, little thread locker on the screw. Now we're going to capture it. Just like that. And yes, you want to lean on this. And yes, a good set of tools make all the difference. Notice the hole. You can put this one through this one and crank it. These solid stainless steel, hardened, this is stainless steel with an inserted hardened tip. These are replaceable. These are made by Callan, which was the company that I did some engineering work for through RC Helicopters. So a good set of Allen tools like this, look into the RC Hobby brands. They make great tools like this. That's what these are. So now that that's in, now we can go through and install our saddles. This should be a 2mm up top. And you want to make sure that you use the screws that come with this. Even though I have these screws over here, I'm going to save those screws. There might be somebody that comes in with a tremolo and all the screws are rusted up. You know, hey, you got some screws to replace these old nasty rusted screws? Sure I do. I got some screws. They're brand new screws. You know, they can't be that bad, even though they were come on a Floyd Rose tremolo. They'll be good enough. If someone comes in and they just need something to get them by and they need a screw, I've got some screws to do a service. Okay, now what we want to make sure of, because we're not setting this bridge up yet for the guitar, but we want to make sure that we put saddle 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to set all these in the center position. because remember, we still have to install this in the guitar. We're going to have to intonate it, and we're going to have to put shims under the saddles. So for right now, that's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to flip the bridge over, and I want to verify that it says number 1. I'm going to take the screw out. Okay. I'm going to place the saddle on the bridge, and you have to put this screw between the spring, between the spring and the fine tuner, and push it through this hole to where it sticks out like that. Do not lose the capturing nut for your strings. Keep your finger on it and just hand thread that in. Do not use an impact or anything else. Get it in by hand. We're not a bunch of gorillas here trying to work fast. We work hard for our money. Thread it in by hand. Take your time. We're not in a race, guys. This is supposed to be something that we enjoy, okay? So don't rush it. Just take your time, have fun with it. The more you do on your guitar, the more you'll start to respect, I guess, people like me that attempt to make a, side money doing this. You take it to a tech and you're like, oh, that's too much money. Do it a couple times. Okay, I'm not saying that anything we're doing here is difficult. It's not. Okay, but it's hard to beat someone that's done something for 30 years. They know all the tricks. But if you do this, the more you know about your guitar, the better you're going to be. It's going to make it doing string changes easy. Oh, I'm so tired of Elixir strings. I'm going to put String Joy strings on my guitar. Well, guess what? You're setting the intonation, and that intonation screw is right there. You doing this, you know every part of your bridge. There's no excuse for you to say, I don't know how to set intonation. You've taken this bridge apart. You know every component behind a Floyd Rose bridge. It's not a complicated bridge system. Don't feel scared by it. That's what this video is for. I haven't shown you guys anything complicated on this bridge. Start baby steps. If you don't feel comfortable doing what I'm doing right now, that's fine. Maybe you'll set your own intonations on intonation on the next bridge. So here we want to use a number 2. Is that going to be right? I don't know. I could be, like I said before, I might end up doing 1, 3, 2. Depending on how I have to shim to get this to work. I don't remember what the radius on that Firefly guitar is, and that's what we're building here. And even though we're using these cheaper saddles, okay, this bridge is going to hold tune just as well as a Floyd Rose original. It will. It's going to hold tune just as well. There's not going to be any difference. Now, if they want to change the saddles, that gives them an option. Does he want to use stainless steel? If you put stainless steel saddles on it, it's going to be a little brighter. Maybe he wants to go with a steel base plate and a brass saddle back here with stainless steel inserts. I like that combination myself. Those saddles are hard to find, and when you do find them, they're $200 a set. But some people like the brass where the string goes across, okay, but they have the stainless steel rear block to capture it. Brass is soft, so it's pushing that string into the back of this brass plate with that hardened stainless steel, and you've got the steel here transferring that resonance to the base plate. Some people like it. It's all up to you. Your block on the bottom of the guitar. They make stainless steel. I've seen titanium. I've seen brass. I've seen actually some kind of bone material too. I don't know what that was about, but what is it? FU Tone has some really strange materials they use. That stuff's very expensive. And what do we say on this channel? If you like it, that's great. But don't expect, if you go to FU Tone and you spend $100 on that block, don't think it's going to make a big difference. You might be looking at 5%, 3% tone difference. Okay? That's what I tell people. 5%. If you get 5% here, 5% there, a little here, a little there, that's realistic. Okay, if that makes sense, guys. Don't expect a huge transformation. Just like when you go to stainless steel. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Just like if you go to stainless steel saddles, yeah, is it going to make it brighter? Yeah, it's going to make it brighter. But it's not going to be so bright you're like, oh my gosh, I can't stand it. If you A-B it, you're going to hear the difference. But if you drop the guitar off and I put stainless steel saddles in your guitar, you may hear just a little bit. But you're not gonna hear that much of a difference. It does change it, but don't freak out about it. That's why I was saying you might like brass saddles. And again, I'm just double checking the number on my saddle before I fish it through. And I'm pushing it through, making sure it sets on that piece. And I'm doing this by hand so I don't cross thread. That's the thing. I'm doing all this by hand. I'm threading it all the way in with my little finger. And then all I'm doing is just lightly tightening it right there. And notice, I can't get it too tight because the saddle isn't even attached yet.
It's hot chocolate time for Devastator.
Oh, Devastator, I might have to agree with you on the hot chocolate time.
Do you want some?
Ooh. Yes, honey, please. So I'm going to flip this over and make sure it has a 2 on it. It does. So again, all I'm doing is I'm running this screw between the shim plate with the spring through the hole in the bridge to the back side of that saddle. And I'm capturing that saddle and I'm hand threading this screw into the back of the saddle to where it stops. That captures the nut. I'm putting just a fraction of pressure on it so the nut doesn't fall out. Then I'm taking the screw for the intonation screw and I'm just setting it in the center hole. I'm not even really tightening that because, like I said, we have to install this in the guitar. So our last saddle should have a 1. And I double check it because I've done it before. I get to the end like, why do I have a 2? Well, that means unless you've got an odd number of saddles, you've installed a saddle in the wrong spot. So just double check as you work. And don't ever pull a guitar apart if you see shims and go, oh, they got the 3 saddle under the low E and they got the 1 saddle under the A and now they got shims here. Well, double check it with a radius gauge. There's probably a reason why they moved the saddles around like that to get the shims they had to work. It could be set up wrong. I'm not saying that. But before you start throwing popcorn at the tech that did it, verify what he did. There might be a reason why the number 3 saddle's under the high E or low E, or under the B string or the A string. Okay, here's our budget Floyd Rose bridge. Okay, I've reused the saddles from the Firefly. We've used scrap parts from a Floyd Rose special here and here. Okay. We have purchased a Floyd Rose FR1000 base plate and we're reusing the stock bridge tremolo arm. Because believe it or not, the stock one's not too bad. And there it is. So you can fix your Firefly bridge, okay, even if you don't have these scrap parts laying around. You can get a Music Lily block, which is actually better than this one, just a square block. It's like $10 just for the square one, like a 32. This little spring plate, I think they're like $15, okay, for the spring plate, for the special spring plate, okay. The German one's a little more, but you're trying to do it on a budget. So you got $25 plus, I think these plates here are like 70 for this plate. So you're looking at about $100 to do your bridge to this level, okay? And then you need to spend another 25, where's it at? For the base, I do have a set here. So these are the black ones, but I have a set just like this, but have the silver posts for this.
You'll be rebuilding yours like that on your Firefly.
Yes, I'll do the exact same thing on this Firefly that I showed you. I'm going to reuse the saddles on that, okay? On that one, I'm probably going to put stainless steel rear screws in, okay? Because the stock steel ones, sometimes they warp. So, and if they get a deflection in them, when you go to tune, that little bit of a warp can affect, when this thing moves and the pressure changes, it can affect the tuning. But I'll do the exact same thing, but I'm going to use stainless steel screws here. And instead of using this block, I'm going to use just a plain Jane 32 millimeter square brass block, not the L block. It'll be this block without the L on it. So it'll look like that. This one has the L. Makes it a little heavier. And this is a 37. So it'll be a little shorter without the L. And I think on Amazon they're like $10 for the little teeny one. But that little teeny brass block weighs twice as much as this 34 millimeter block. So it's 32 millimeter, but it's going to weigh twice as much as this block for $10. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but that's how I'm going to fix that bridge. And if you want to go all out like we're doing on Jupes, you're only looking at maybe $230. It's still far cheaper to do what we're getting ready to do on our next bridge than to buy a German Floyd Rose. I would never buy a German Floyd Rose. I've got one right there. The only reason I bought it was a floor demo, and I got it cheap. But to buy it new for $350, that's insanity. You can buy the parts, and you can build a far superior bridge than what you get in the box. Why would you buy the Floyd Rose? Well, I'll show you the German. Let me grab it, guys. It's brand new in the box. So right here is an original Floyd Rose. Authentic. Woohoo! It's authentic, all right. It's authentic because it has problems. They authentically they had problems. So the German Floyd Rose, that's this one. This one is in black chrome. And look at the block. All they did, it's still the thin block. It's just a 37 millimeter. But it's just a regular steel block. Just like the one on the special. But this is a 34 millimeter block. So three millimeters bigger. That's the only difference. This does have the nylon capture nut here. But notice it's still steel back here. Steel. No stainless. Made in Germany. Is it worth $350? Absolutely not. This is not worth $350. And again, you're going, well, why'd you buy it then? I got it for $200, and I figured someone would drop off a guitar and they just had to have an authentic Floyd Rose. So I bought this one, going, okay, I'll sell it. I'll sell it to a customer, and I can save them some money because this was a floor model, and they won't care because it was never installed on a guitar. And I'll just pick it up, and it's been here. Look, demo. It's been here for 2 years, and no one's come in wanting a black chrome German Floyd Rose. So I figured I would just get it, and someone would come in the door, but no one has. So as these go up in price, I'm locked in what I paid for this. So I guess that kind of helps me, if that makes sense. But is it worth the full retail price of $350? No, it's not. I just showed you this was a special. Okay, now granted the plates are harder, but I could take that special and upgrade the plate and still be under this one. Or what we're getting ready to do with this pile of parts. You're going to be at $230 versus $350, if that makes sense. I'm going to set that right there. Well, there's our first bridge, guys. So what do you guys think of our first bridge? This is going on a Firefly. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with this bridge, guys. If I wanted to do something to make this bridge a little better, and let's say you were a semi-pro, about the only thing I would do to it is, like I said, I would put the stainless steel screws back here and just play it. You know, are these saddles the best? No, they're not, but they're good enough. They really are. They're good enough. You're trying to do this on a budget. You're not going to gain for a working bar guitar, and you're going to spend $70 to replace these saddles. Okay, you're not going to gain that much by doing it because these are brand new saddles. Okay, and when I took them apart, there's not a lot of play in the saddle. Is there play in the saddle? Yes, there is. But they're not horrible saddles. I've seen some of these $19 bridges, and the saddles are pretty bad. These were not bad. So this is going to be a good bridge for our Firefly. And you can do this, like I said, the base plate, spring, and you could reuse the block that was on it. I just would not reuse that spring. Throw that spring away. But if you want to reuse the old block, I guess you could. So you're looking at about $75, $80 to just do the plate and the spring. And then you have to buy the posts, which are about $16, $17. You can find them for that. I know if you get on Amazon, they're $30. Wait. Keep looking on Amazon. One of those vendors, they'll go on sale for $18 to $20. Trust me. When they go on sale, I buy 5 or 6 sets because I go through a lot of the German posts. So just wait for them to go on sale. So there's our first bridge. All right, guys, we're going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to hit the restroom. And when we come back, we are going to build what I call the ultimate Floyd Rose bridge, where we're not going to cut corners. We're going to build a nice bridge. Are we going to go crazy stupid money on it? No, we're not. But we're going to build what I consider the best bridge you can build for $300 for your guitar, if you're running a Floyd Rose. If you have $300, build this bridge. Trust me, it's going to outperform any Floyd Rose German bridge out there. It's going to last just as long, and you're already going to have all the hot rodded parts that you still have to put on the German bridge. So everyone, go get Like the funny little honey just brought me some hot chocolate. Go get something to drink, hit the restroom, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. And I gotta look over here and see which one it is. I think it's this one. I actually forgot we were one camera down. I hit the wrong button. Okay, I'm going to get my chat up over here, guys. Oh, I wasn't paying too much attention to the chat. I see Cole is in the group. God bless you, Cole. I'm so happy the Lord provided safety for you over in Israel. That was a quick prayer for you, your family, and everyone over there. May God bless you guys over there. So, I want to know if anyone has any basic questions on the basic bridge. Okay? Don't be intimidated, okay, with the Floyd Rose. When this video is over, right now you can't, okay? If you want to post more detailed questions after the video, wait for the video ends and then go into the comment section and you can post. The only thing we haven't really gone over is setting up your saddle height for your radius. Okay? And I promise we are going to do a video on that. It's kind of a pain in the butt on a Floyd Rose. I am a Kaler guy. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you the Kaler is easy to set up. You do not need shims on the Kaler. There are idler screws under each shim on the 2700, and you can bring those screws up and back. Here's the drawback is you don't have access to those idler screws unless you come in through the back of the guitar and disassemble the bridge. So in some cases, putting a shim here is a little easier. The drawback is the shim is a fixed size, and the Kaler allows you an infinite amount of adjustment room this way. With the Floyd, you're also locked in. You cannot move these saddles this way. Whatever this string spacing is on a Floyd, that's what it is. You can't change it. On a Kaler 2700 Killer and the standard 2700 and some of the other Kalers, you can actually change your spring spacing, okay, from E to E. And it's reversible on the arm. The arm can go on either side. So you don't need a left-handed bridge plate or a right-handed bridge plate. The Floyd Rose is the standard, okay? I want people to look at the Floyd Rose like VHS. I know I'm showing my age. The Beta was far superior to VHS. But VHS won out because it was cheaper. Period. It was a cheaper, inferior product. But it won out because it was cheaper. So what we want to do is we want to take the cheaper product and we want to make it a more dependable product. By putting a harder base plate on this bridge, we have made this a far more dependable product than it was ever actually designed to be. Doing this is the best upgrade you can do to your Floyd Rose. Whether you get an FR1000 or you go to FU Tone and get a stainless steel one, or you get the stainless steel one off Floyd Rose, or you get a stainless steel is hard. But believe me, there are certain steels, okay, when forged properly and hardened properly, will be harder than the stainless steel, okay? There are different grades of steel. There are different grades of stainless steel. So if you buy a stainless steel plate, there's no guarantee that that stainless steel will be as hard as a tempered, hardened steel plate. You need to look at the pressure rating, and if they're proud of their product, they put a pin in this and they put pressure on it, and the divot reading on that tells you the hardness. They should tell you the hardness rating of that knife edge. If they're not, odds are they really don't know or they've never tested it. They're just saying it's hardened. So these are things to keep in mind before you go out and spend $200 on an FU Tone base plate that just says hardened. Theirs may or may not. I don't know. I have nothing against the company. I've used their products. Every product I bought for them, aligned fine, and the machining work was good on. So I don't have anything negative to say about FU Tone. Okay? There's not just them out there. There's tons of companies out there making hot rodded parts for these bridges. Just be smart. See if they give you a rating on the hardness. Just because it's stainless doesn't mean that it's harder than a hardened tempered steel plate. Do your research. I know from experience the best bang for your buck is the FR1000 bridge, and this is a hardened metal, okay? But you can get this base plate for $59 to $69. Okay, that allows you another $130 versus the FU Tone plate to get stainless steel saddles, maybe stainless steel tuners up here, or a steel saddle with a brass back plate at $110. It allows you to put that money in other places. And these 1000s, I've abused them. They hold their edge quite well. So it's a good bang for the buck. I'm going to look over at the screen and see if I'm missing anything. Oh my gosh, Jupe. Jupe, me and you have to have a conversation. I think everyone in the chat knows Jupe is probably our highest contributor. The man does way too much. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, Jupe. I can't even I can't even express. Thank you. Moving on to Jupe's bridge. We're going to set this one aside. I'm going to set it right there. So here, if you want to spend $300, and in my opinion, it's the best $300 you're going to spend on a Floyd Rose bridge. So the Floyd Rose has a couple problems, the Special and the FR1000 in my opinion. And part of the problem is the tremolo arm.
Warhart says his Floyd Rose seems legit. It's not a licensed one.
Yeah, the last bridge is not a licensed Floyd Rose bridge. But even a licensed Floyd Rose bridge, I have one over here. They make one cheaper than the Special now. And that's just Floyd Rose money grabbing. If they make $1 or $2, whatever they're making on that bridge, they have nothing to do with it but their name being licensed and put on it. In my opinion, they went down a notch by putting their name on that product. I get it. They know they can put their name and sell it on these cheap bridges, and these companies go, ooh, it's a Floyd Rose. When you have a name such as Floyd Rose for building a great bridge in the 80s, it was a good bridge. Was it as good as the Kaler Bridge? Absolutely not. That's why they sued Kaler. Because they didn't want the Kaler 2700 on the market. So Floyd Rose, how they pulled that off, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But the Kaler was a superior product. Floyd Rose knew it, and they did everything in their power to eliminate that product from the market. If you disagree with me, I'm sorry. If it was about being a fulcrum-based bridge, how come Floyd Rose didn't allow Kaler to produce that bridge and put licensed by Floyd Rose on it? It had nothing to do with being licensed by Floyd Rose. It had to do with eliminating the 2700 killer bridge off the market. Period. I'm sure Dave Kaler would have said, okay, I'll put your name in cooperation with Floyd Rose, licensed by or something, and gave them something. But they didn't.
Warhart says, I haven't changed my strings yet. When I do, I'm going to see if the saddles need cleaned, or am I supposed to oil it? I don't know.
Cleaning your saddle, just clean it with alcohol, okay? The alcohol is going to evaporate pretty quickly. The only thing that you want to look at is that pin in the old saddle. What did I do with the old saddles? Right here. there's really nothing in here to really oil. It's just this fulcrum right here where this pin goes through. So if you have a sonic cleaner, most people don't. This saddle was put in the sonic cleaner and it ran for about 3 or 4 hours. It was pretty goopy, but I wanted to see how well I could take a very old saddle and get it to clean up. Now this saddle, Juke played this saddle quite a bit. You can see there's a little slop in it. But for the time that I saw on the frets, the fret wear, I would say this saddle actually held up pretty well. It's not super sloppy. There's not a lot of lateral slop in it. It's quite impressive for a Floyd Rose special. So you want to get in here and clean down in here, if you don't have a sonic cleaner that you can run it in, and put a little oil in here. You don't want it drenching with oil, okay? Because it's only moving this amount on the fine tuner. Okay, does that make sense? So this should never move as you're moving the bridge. This is locked by the spring plate on the back. If you look here, that pivot pin is there. When you move the bridge, that's fixed stationary. So the only time this ever has to move is when you tune it. So that little bit of oil is only going to help the feel in tuning. So in reality, it should feel smooth there without the oil anyway. If this thing is going and you feel something in there, either the pin is bent, it's a poorly manufactured, or it's rusted. They've used substandard materials and that steel pin is rusted in there and it feels scratchy. If that's the case, even if you clean it, it's going to come back, especially if you live in a high moisture area. It would be better to replace the saddle. But in this case, there's no rust. This saddle, where Jupe lives, it's high moisture, he told me. And I don't see any rust on the saddle. So even in his high moisture climate, let's look at the block. Let's see if there's any rust on the block, the capturing block. It's not rusted, if you can see that. But I do see just a little corrosion on it. But for the area that he lives in, I'm going to say that this is fine. If you look on the end of the block, there's a little hole. Okay? There's a little divot in that block. If you look at the end of the screw, there's a flat spot in that screw where the threads stop. That little hole in the block and this lock together. Notice now it goes all the way into the threads. So when you put this in the saddle, that little hole not only has to go in, usually hole goes down and the hole goes to the back. Okay? Because notice the hole is towards the bottom of the saddle. It's not in the center. So you want to put this in and double check it. Make sure that this screw captures in that hole. Okay? So when you take this and you loosen it, make sure that block stays captured to the pin when you put the screw in. If not, and this block falls down or sticking up, this won't capture the block properly, and that'll cause your strings to slip. Does that kind of make sense? Make sure that that hole is facing that way and this screw captures that little divot in that block and it locks it. That's the only way that block goes flat and square to the front of that saddle to capture that string. So keep an eye out on that. Clean this, put a little oil on it, but like I said, the only time this is moving is when you're changing your fine tuner. And that's what it's doing. As this moves down, it pulls the string backwards, which increases the tune. And that's why there's only so much adjustment in your fine tuner, because it's here and then it might move to there completely all the way down on the fine tuner. So that's all the tuning ability you have. Hopefully that answers the question. Okay, back to the tremolo. So building a good bridge, you can spend a tremendous amount of money on a tremolo bar. I like the turbo bar. Okay, this is the turbo bar. And the item number on this is, well, it says item Turbo TRMBP. Very hard to see on the camera, but that's, it just says item number TURBOTRMBP. So that's what you want to type in. I feel that this bar is the best bang for your buck, okay, out there. Are there better bars out there? Yes, there are. I have felt better bars, but they're 3 times the cost of this bar. This is the bar I upgrade every one of my Floyd Roses to. They work well. Is the other bar better? Yeah. Remember what we were saying earlier? It's a little better. And that little bit better is not worth 3 times the price, in my opinion.
Cole said Wilkinson are great too.
Yes, Wilkinson makes good products. But remember, Wilkinson, Floyd Rose, even Kaler, okay, they all make parts, good parts, great parts, and budget parts. So just because it says Wilkinson or Floyd Rose, it doesn't make it a superior part. Do your research. They're going to have different price points on their parts. Just, I feel this particular part Floyd Rose makes is the best bang on the market for cost. So we're going to use this bar on the fancy bridge. And base plate. We are using the exact same base plate, the FR1000 base plate. So here's our base plate. And this is the piece I took out earlier. This is the German spring. It's just a little thicker than the special spring. So that's the spring we're going to use. Here's the part we're reusing from the Floyd Rose Special. This is our shim plate. Notice we did not use this on the cheaper bridge. Okay? You don't have to use it, but it does put a little bit more pressure on the spring plate. And if you're curious about that, you can go back and watch when I was discussing why this plate makes a difference in the spring plate. Oh, here's the silver ones for the other bridge. Here's the ones we'll be using for this bridge. These are the German ones. So keep that in mind, guys. You have to use the exact same hardness post and base plate. Do not use the Floyd Rose Special or the cheaper posts with the harder base plate. The two metals need to be the same. Next thing we're going to use is this guy right here. We're using the L block. So I got to dig this guy out. And that thing is stupid heavy. So if you're into light guitars, you probably don't want to use this block. But if you're into a tremendous amount of sustain, then you want to use this block. And when you get it from Music Lily, they do give you a free pick. Just saying. One free pick. And the part number on this is MX2236FBA. For anyone wanting it. Music Lily. Best bang for the buck for a very high-end brass block. Now here's going to be the controversy. There are two companies that make these, and I have landed on these for being the best. Okay, it's made by Cash Music. These are solid stainless steel, and they are freaking nice. When I say freaking nice, they're freaking nice. I'm trying to look for a product number on this. Not seeing an actual product number. This is the Cash stainless steel saddle and screw set. I'm not seeing a product number. And they've packaged it to the point where it's adult proof. Usually the shrink wrap around the saddles, it shrinks in around it and it captures them pretty good. It is perforated at the bottom. That does help a little bit. I will say it's well packaged. Let's get the screws out. So we have fine tuners and the intonation screws that come with this little kit. They do give you 2 Allen keys. And then the saddles. Now here's what I want to show you. And I don't know if this was going to come up on the camera or not. They are laser etched right here. And it says Japan 9.80. Okay? And that is the distance from here to the tangent point of the radius of the arc for the string. A good saddle will always tell you that distance. And right there you can kind of see the laser etching. A good saddle will tell you the distance from here to there, so you can calculate your sims properly. You can see there is zero play in these saddles. It is a stainless steel saddle with a solid brass pin. Butter smooth. Tremendous amount of travel. Far more travel than the bridge will allow. Stainless steel screw. Stainless steel center block. And the block does have a cut that captures for the screw. So we're going to set that one right there. It's going to take me an hour to clean up after this show. So now we're going to take our next saddle out. And the back of this saddle says Japan 9.80. So what was this one? 9.80. 9.80. So both of those saddles are exactly the same. Let's see what this saddle says. Japan 9.30. Japan 9.30. Japan 8.80. Japan 8.80. So those are all set differences. So tallest to shortest. Does that make sense, guys? Now you can call this company I have reached out to them. If you know exactly in metric what your offset is, they will machine these saddles to your 12-inch, 14, 15, 16, 20, 9.5, whatever your radius is. If you tell them what you need these saddles to be, they will machine the saddle and laser etch it. Is it the same price? No, it's not. It's about $100 more. But if you can do the math and you're sure of what that is, let's say you buy this set and you shim it and you get it perfect, you can mic your saddle to the top of this and call them and have that set made to whatever you want. They do have different sizes available. I find this particular kit, because I keep it in my cart, works best for 12 to 16 inch radiuses with shims. Okay, those are the parts we're using. Super high quality parts. So we're going to start again. Now keep this in mind. I have not spoke to Jupe about this. If we remove these, they are squished on the end. That's going to damage the threads here, and we have to use a chase to fix it. We do have stainless steel tuners. So after the stream, if he wants these stainless steel tuners put in, I will have to remove these, chase the threads to install the stainless ones. So I'm going to set them aside for right now because I do not have my chase up here. And we are not using the standard screws here. We are using the stainless steel screws. The bridge comes with the standard screws. So I'm going to set the standard ones right there. Alright, there's our base plate. This is brand new. Clean it. Clean, 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 clean. Get yourself a paper towel and some alcohol. This is brand new. You have to get the cutting oil out of this part. Alcohol is pretty cheap. Take your time. You're in no rush. This is supposed to be this is the fun part. I enjoy building bridges. So I'm going to take my rag and get down in those threads. And you can see the black. So we're going to do it again. Clean spot. Alright, that part's clean. Our screws. These are new screws, and you can guarantee what they use. Yeah, they use cutting oil on the machine lathe. So we want to get them clean, get that oil off the screws. Right there. See the black? That's what we're trying to get out. That black brown is cutting oil. Whew, that one was really dirty. Okay, here's that one. Now remember what I was saying with the L block going in, you can see how it's covering part of that hole there. See? This is where our tremolo bar goes in. So before we put our L block in, we want to get the base plate of our bar installed. If you don't, you will be taking the tremolo back apart to get this in. So it should be a 3mm on the back nut. Again, we want to clean this. A lot of cutting oil on this one. This one's a little harder to do, guys. So there is a little washer. So I'm going to clean the screw. And I'm going to put a little alcohol in the screw and I'm going to thread it in that with the alcohol on the screw. I want to make sure it's good and clean in there. So I'm going to run the screw in. And I can see the alcohol coming out, forcing it out. I'm going to run the screw out, back in. I'm going to take it and clean it again. And we're going to clean this one last time. Alright. Don't forget your washer. Okay. You'll see with the better kits, notice the cheaper socket that we just put in. This has a compression ring made into the bottom flange. Okay? This outer ring right here is fluted. Okay? When this goes in the tremolo base, you're going to see it does not go all the way down. See that? It doesn't go all the way down on the plate. That is deliberate. Okay? The inner radius of the flute is the radius of the hole. The outer radius of the flute will cut into the steel, okay, to where this socket will not be allowed to move back and forth in the steel plate. This is a hardened steel plate. So yes, you are going to have to put some pressure behind that screw. Or if you have a hydraulic press, doesn't take that much pressure. You can put this in a press or a vise and you can put a block here, put pressure on it, and you can suck this into the metal. Okay, I've had pretty good luck just using pressure with my good screws. Okay, my good drivers, that I don't have to do it. But I do remember back in the day putting them in vices and doing that. So if you have to put it in a vise, don't feel bad. You may have to. So we're going to put just a little bit of blue thread locker down in that little hole. Clean your tools. Shouldn't even do that with your tools. But I cheat. Alright. Our clean 3mm. Little thread locker on it. Put your housing on top. And now we're going to tighten that up. If you have cheap tools, do not try this. If you have good tools, then have at it. Good tools are your friend. Like I said, if you have cheaper tools and you feel your 3mm is going to let go, okay, here's a good tool. See how tight that is? Look at how much play is on it. If you got a little slop and you're feeling that and it's not tight and you go to twist on that, you're not going to round out the screw. This is a hardened screw. You might round out your Allen wrench. Okay? A good tool should really lock into that and hold on to it. It really should. There should be no play in that Allen to the screw. I have had play, and that's usually a sign of a cheap screw. But these good screws, they usually don't cause a problem. The big problem with doing this on cheaper tools, your shaft will bend when you put that much pressure on it. But really, put some pressure on that because that has to compress into the plate. It has to compress into the plate. And yes, the shaft is twisting. I can feel the twist in the shaft. So that's good. With the blue Loctite and that flute on that, you'll never have to worry about this collet ever moving on you. The next thing with this, if you look, there's two pins. See how it's got two different heights? You've got your pin. I'm trying to get it against the wall. You've got a pin. That's too funny. I just dropped my wrench. You've got a pin here, and then you get your outer pin here. So as this goes in, the lower pin fits a hole down in there, and the outer sleeve fits the top part of the sleeve. So as this goes in, it locks in two different diameter sleeves, okay? And that allows for a nice tight feeling tremolo bar. There's no slop. Yeah. My assistant's grabbing my tool. Thank you, honey. So that's why I like this bar with the dual pin. It works really well. Again, is it the best one? No. But for 5% better, paying $80, $90 to $100 for a tremolo bar, in this guy's opinion, that's kind of crazy. I can't justify $80 for a tremolo bar if it's 5% better. That's just me. If you want 5% better, there are better bars out there. Let me grab a drink of the hot cocoa here.
Trucker Bob's on.
Oh, it's Trucker Bob. Everybody welcome Trucker Bob. Without people like Trucker Bob, our country stops moving. And I say that because of just the name in his title of his name, Trucker Bob. Trucker Bob pulls freight all across the United States. Odds are if you've received something, it's been in a, well, It's 100% been on a truck. A boat, train to truck. Without the truckers, we don't get anything. So thank you, Bob, for everything that you do. All right, now that we've got our piece on, we have to put that on first. Now we can do our block that we've already cleaned. The first thing we want to do is our spring. This is our thicker German spring. That goes on first. Okay. Then you want to orient this plate. Notice how the holes are one side of the plate. The longer side of the plate goes to the back of the bridge, facing the tuners. The L of the bridge goes over this piece. So we're going to flip it over. I'm going to try to hold all that together. Actually, before I do that, I need a little bit more blue Loctite. So I'm going to put a little Loctite down in these holes. I'm going to use, I think this is my 1 millimeter. Just going to grab some blue Loctite and we're going to put it down in the hole. Clean your tools. You really shouldn't do that. I keep saying that. But everyone else is going to do it, so I'm going to do it. Realign my plate. This one's a little harder, guys, because now you're aligning two plates. So I'll get a pin. I do that, get it to align. And then I'm going to put it directly over the bridge. Let's get a screw. A little bit of Loctite on the screw. Hold it over it. Just get your first one started. Again, don't force it. I'm just taking my fingers and spinning and don't tighten it. Now align all your plates. Get your next screw. Don't force it. I am just taking my finger just like that. I'm not putting any pressure on that screw. It should thread in like butter. If it doesn't thread in like butter, you have it cross-threaded or you're using cheap parts. And the thread pitch of the screw you're using does not match the machine work in the block. So I've just got them barely tight. Just turning each one to where I'm not putting any pressure. Again, just like this. To where I can't turn it without squeezing that's it. See how that one turned again? I'm going back and forth. Now that you got it like that, that's what we have. Make sure this spacer plate, the space goes forward to your springs. Make sure you don't have it backwards. Now's the time. Make sure you're right. Once you get the saddles on, you got to take the whole bridge apart to fix it. This particular one, we could have gotten it. We could have gotten it. Sometimes this L goes over top of that and you got to take the bridge apart. But this one we could. It would have worked. Better to be safe than sorry though. So now that we have it aligned, we're going to put some force on this. And I'm just going to give it a decent turn. I'm not applying a lot of pressure yet. Go to my center one. Now I'm cranking on it. That's not going anywhere. Okay, that's what we have so far. Double check that these screws are below the top surface of your base plate.
Trucker Bob says, "Hey Avery, today is my birthday, and guess what my wife got me? His first IYV. It's an LP 350.
The LP 350. Bob, we have talked about getting that guitar on this channel for review for quite some time. I hope you like it. That we have looked at that guitar and looked at that guitar and looked at that guitar. Congratulations, buddy. So now that we have that, we verified that it's below. And the reason we want to verify it's below, we don't want these screws interfering with any shims we may put on this bridge or the saddles. So I'm going to double check my heights here. So it's 8.80, 9.30, so that's the medium ones, and 9.80. So tallest, medium. So we're going to flip those and put the medium ones here, and then the shortest ones out on the edge. And that's the orientation that we want to install them in the bridge. Double check. 8.80, 9.30, 9.80, 9.80, 9.30, 8.80. So it is verified we are correct.
He said it's already in the shop. First thing he did, he took it to a shop for EMGs to be installed.
Oh my gosh. You're going all out, Trucker Bob. All right, our first one, again, capture your nut. Exactly the same as the last bridge we just built. We're going to push it between the spring and the base plate body and let it protrude out. Just like that. We're going to keep this finger over top of that so we don't lose our capturing nut. Start it and hand thread. And since we don't have the guitar set up yet, we're going to take our stainless steel screw with our 2mm, and we're just going to put it in the center hole for right now. Just like that. And repeat the process. Double check, 9.30. Fish it through. Make sure you get it started in there correctly, like I'm not far enough forward. This is the point where you can get it cross-threaded. That's why I say do it hand tight. Because remember, the bottom part of this saddle in the back right here is not on the base plate. See how there's a gap there? So when you lay that down, the back of the saddle is going to be on an angle like this. So you have to get this to set perpendicular or parallel, sorry, not perpendicular, to the base plate when you fish this in. And then we just want to double check that we've got enough pressure on that to just kind of lock that block so it doesn't fall out. Grab your stainless steel screw And again, we're just going to the center hole for right now, because when we install this bridge in the Schecter, we are going to have to do a complete setup on that guitar. So this should be our tallest saddle, 9.80. So that's going to be our center. And just like I said last time, that doesn't necessarily mean that that saddle is going to stay there. Depending on how the shims work, we may end up putting that saddle in a different location depending on our shims and how far it is off on the neck radius. This is going to be a beautiful bridge with this black and the stainless. This is going to be sharp. When I say sharp, this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful bridge. I may have to do this bridge on that guitar now. Now that I'm seeing it. Kind of pretty. Alright, our next saddle should be the tall one. 9.80. We're good. We're fishing it through. At this point, it's just repetition, guys. But with each saddle, it gets prettier. .30. Oh, that's a 2mm. We need a 3. Grabbed the wrong wrench. 2mm on your intonation screw, 3mm on your back screw.
Trucker Bob says he can't chat anymore, but he'll be watching. He's got to start cooking ribeyes for him and his wife.
Ooh, what about us? I like ribeye. I lost my chat. Thank you so much for coming by, Trucker Bob. Trucker Bob, guys, in case you all don't know who Trucker Bob is, Trucker Bob was, there's a couple people in the chat that commented very early on in this channel's history, and Trucker Bob is one of the very first people that I think subscribed and commented and contributed to the channel. So it's great to see Trucker Bob coming into the live stream. And this is our last saddle, guys. Go cook them steaks, Trucker Bob. I like steak. So now I'm just going to go through and just give it a slight turn on all these, just to make sure that those blocks are captured. And now we're going to put the tremolo arm in. And there we go, guys. Can you say beautiful bridge? Look at that massive block. Now, if you choose to go out and buy a German flute rose for $350, that's up to you. But you can build this bridge just like we did. We only used one old part, and that was right here.
Kirk
Yeah, right here. We've got them. But when I pull these out, it will damage the threads and I will have to chase the threads. So I'll wait for Jupe to give me the yay or nay on that. If you do stainless steel there, I don't know. It kind of, the black kind of looks cool. Or the stainless. I think it would look cool either way. But if Jupe wants the stainless, I'm more than happy to take the screws out and tap it. But what I'm saying is, for $350, you can buy the German, okay? Or you can build this. And I'm going to show you what $350 buys you versus what we just built for about $275, $250, depending on, prices are always going up, guys. If you don't get it on sale, then you're going to pay more. So first off, look at the quality difference just in the saddles. Okay, look at how beefy the solid stainless steel saddles are. This is the Floyd. Now look at the difference in the blocks. This is our Super Bridge. There's the Floyd. There's the end look of the Floyd versus the Super Bridge. Floyd. Forward. And our back. So this bridge is cheaper, but far superior to the stock. If we take these saddles out, there's play in the saddles. Let's take one out. I showed you the other saddles, zero play. So let's look at a brand new German saddle. And yes, look. And that's German. And it's flexing like that. So, don't let anybody sit there and tell you, oh, it's the German one. It's the tolerances are better. That one's brand new and it flexed just as much as Jupe's used Floyd Rose special saddles. That's kind of sad that a German-made Floyd Rose, brand new, has just as much deflection in the new saddles as a, 10, 12-year-old, I don't know how old Jupe's guitar is, saddle off a Floyd Rose special. Not saying anything's wrong with this bridge. This is a quality bridge. If you have this bridge on your guitar, it'll last for years and years and years and years and years and years. This is just a superior bridge for less money. This will last for years and years and years and years and years and years too. But it's going to sustain better. It's going to have more of an edge tone. And the bar that we used is upgraded. It's not going to have the slop that the stock bar has. More sustain, more bite versus the stock. Far more accurate as far as the tuning, because we see there's no slop in these saddles. It's brass and stainless steel versus just regular steel.
Jupe said his guitar is a 2017 model.
2017. So that's just going to show you that The other saddle wasn't worn out. It was just from the factory it had that much slop, because these brand new German ones have the slop. And again, I'm not putting this bridge down. I bought this bridge for a customer that comes in and says, I have to have a Floyd Rose German as a replacement. So I got a good deal on this. It's just a matter of time before a client comes in and says they have to have this one. This was a floor model for display. Never put in, but it'll save one of my customers $100.
Jupe also said to do what you think is best for the bridge.
Well, I think this is the best bang for your buck, Jupe. Linnell just said, do what you think is best. This is an extremely solid bridge. It's better than the German bridge. It's going to have some bite. It's going to have a lot of sustain. And it just looks cool. Look at that. So that is just one kick butt bridge. And like I said, you're in the, depending on the market and where you get it, you're going to be in the $250 to $300 price range for these parts to put this bridge together. It's going to be cheaper than what you can buy the Floyd Rose Original for or the Floyd Rose 84 for. And it's just a better bridge. Build it yourself. Go back, watch this video 3, 4, 5, how many ever times you need. It's really not difficult to assemble one of these bridges. It really isn't. Well, if you know this channel, you know that I allowed anyone to comment, during the live stream. I don't believe forcing someone to be a subscriber to make a comment. I don't think that's fair. I think that you should be able to come in here, talk, and communicate with the other people in the chat that's in your right. There's good people here. I don't do that. I don't think it's right. How do you know you're going to fit in the group and you're going to like? By me forcing you to subscribe so you can chat. Come in, participate, hang out, ask some questions. There's knowledgeable people, not just me. Everyone here is a musician. That's what it's about. We're all musicians. Ask your questions, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll reach down, you're going to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And if you hit the thumbs down button, that's fine too. YouTube counts that as interaction, so it helps the channel whether you disliked the video or whether you liked it. Hopefully you hit the like button though. It always hurts my heart when I see the thumbs down button being hit. But hopefully I've earned the subscription. And if you have any questions on building a bridge, on how to shim it, or do anything like that, please leave a comment down below. And for those people hanging out for the live, yes, I'm ending the stream right now solely for the fact of other people coming to the channel, just watching this video for how to build a bridge. I will end the stream and start a brand new stream to do our standard Saturday night hangout. But I really thought this would be a good stream to show everyone how simple a Floyd Rose bridge is and how affordable you can make a solid bridge. So if you would, consider subscribing, hit the like button. And if you guys want to come back for the real Saturday night just chat, we're going to do that in about 5 minutes. Thanks so much for watching. And without you guys and the participation that this channel has, it wouldn't be possible. Wait 10 minutes and we'll go live one more time for the general Saturday night chat. Thanks, guys. Got to find my mouse.